So, Audi brand ambassador Rob Kearney here this afternoon. We're on a bit of a break week now in the Rugby World Cup camps. How's it all been going for you? I saw you were up at Port Rush there at the weekend as well. That must have been nice.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Went up on Sunday morning. Weather wasn't great, but luckily had a grandstand ticket for the 18th, and it was incredible. Proper, one of those brilliant sporting events that will live long in the memories. It was unbelievable.
And when you obviously played in World Cups and things like that, when you're sitting on as a spectator watching those kind of scenes and stuff from the outside, do you ever kind of picture when you've been in certain situations like that in big finals and stuff, and have you kind of taken in the atmosphere around it, or kind of have you appreciated just a bit more sitting on the outside looking at it all?
Yeah, you do. Like, I suppose you bring yourself back to those unbelievable big days where you've had trophies and whatnot, but it's so much more focused, I think, when it's just one person. We obviously share it with 23 players, management, coaches, but you have to have so much, I think, respect for people in single sports. I'd say they go through some real lows when they're form and they're not scoring and playing and making cuts and whatnot. But I would say that the high that he felt that day was incredible.
Yeah, you obviously, as you mentioned there, like it's a team dynamic when you're out there in those big games and stuff like that. Have you ever had a kind of an individual sport that you would have played down the years where you're kind of in that zone where you're out on your own there as opposed to being around people?
No, not really. If you play a back 9 holes and you birdie a couple and make par in the next, but no, nothing ever remotely close to that type of environment.
How have the last few weeks been going for you? You're on one of these break weeks at the moment. We had Cian Healy in studio with us a couple of days ago, and he was kind of telling us how you're heavy stuff for a couple of weeks, then you might get a few days off and you're going around the place. You were in Galway and Limerick at various points during the summer as well. What have you been up to this week?
I suppose the last, we've been back 5 weeks ago. They've been brilliant. Been working hard, lots of strength, lots of conditioning stuff. So over the next few weeks now, we'll move more towards rugby. We were in Carton House for a couple of weeks, and then Galway, Limerick, as you say, for a week. So we actually haven't been at home a huge amount. So this week was probably just about getting back and chilling out at home a little. We've been given a fair bit of work and our own stuff to do on a daily basis. So it's nice to be able to go into Leinster and use the facilities in there and see some of the lads who we might not have caught up with over the last couple of months.
Is it very much kind of the responsibility put to you on this off week that you have your little fitness sessions that you might have to do yourself, that the responsibility is on you? I remember a couple of years ago on one of our shows we had Billy Holland in. It was during one of the Pro 14 break weeks, and he was saying that they're given the week off and they're given a few exercises to do, and just 2-3 times during your break week have a gym session or something. He was saying that the responsibility is all on them, but there are a couple of players who were given the GPS units because they just weren't trusted. There's none of that, is there?
No, not this time round. Like, to be fair, our sessions have been broken down very well for us on a daily basis of what to do. But we'll work hard again next week. And if you take your foot off the gas this week, you might regress a small bit next week. And lads just can't afford to do that. Competition for places is so high. So if you're not conditioning yourself or staying on top of your strength work, you get thrown back into a big week next week, and potentially you could pick up some small little niggles. So I think the days of not doing the work that you were told to do are long gone, especially a few weeks out from a World Cup.
What have the first few weeks of the training been like? We were told it's a lot of fitness, it's high intensity stuff. Are there any absolute just god awful exercise you see when there's a few cones going out, exactly what's coming, and you're just kind of dreading the next 10-15 minutes?
Yeah, and the thing is that with the conditioning sessions on the field, we don't get told in advance really what we're doing. So that walk out to the field when you have the nerves and anticipation of, oh God, what's coming here now, still lives as strong as it did back 10-15 years ago, that's for sure.
And in general, though, are these World Cup camps, have you kind of learned to deal with them much more differently than when you were younger? Are they much different to your standard pre-season with your province?
Yeah, they're probably as difficult. The only difference is that we're in camp. You're not going home at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so we're together an awful lot more. So it means we've more time in the day to work, and you get better breaks during the day, which can be really good too. But we've enjoyed each other's company. Everyone's getting on well. We're having good crack. It's nice to train your balls off Monday to Friday without having a game at the weekend. So that aspect of it is nice too. And
mentally, have you learned to kind of deal with the being in the hotels much more, as you've kind of, this is what it would be your 3rd World Cup? Were you involved in the pre-season for 2007 as well? Yeah. So it's your 4th World Cup camp essentially. Have you kind of learned, even more so physically but mentally, just kind of how to deal with your time off and not getting stuck into cabin fever?
Yeah, it's one of the big challenges, that, and I think the coaches and management have scheduled it really well, that they just work us really hard for 2 weeks and then give us all a week to get away and refresh, come back. We did another 2 hard really weeks, and then got away from camp and a bit of a download, so by the time Sunday comes around again, we'll be refreshed and ready to go again. Whereas if you did a block of maybe 5-6 weeks on top of each other every day, there could be a couple of little rows starting to creep in.
And for previous tournaments, is that something you would have done where it would have been a larger block as opposed to a couple of weeks here, a few days off, a couple of weeks here?
Like the thing with the Six Nations is that's probably the longest that we would spend time together as a group. You play 2 games and then you're off for a week, so you would have gotten away for those weeks. But it will be a challenge for us over the next couple of months, and in terms of how much time we are together.
You mentioned there, like in the next couple of weeks, the balls will start coming out a bit more. It'll be much more match-orientated training with the World Cup warm-up matches on the way. Are you thinking about the matches itself at this stage, or is it just about kind of getting the work done? We'll worry about the actual World Cup games and the warm-up matches themselves in the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
I think certainly the last phase was very much, get ourselves into as good as physical condition as we could. So that was the real, I suppose, the real goal for the whole group. Like I say, we'll come back in Sunday night, and I think guys are really looking forward to getting back and doing a lot more ball work and training on the field, knowing that they have a really good base of strength and conditioning already, that work done. So you're much more comfortable and able just to hit the ground running and get moving.
And with some of the younger players in the squad, do you notice kind of they're approaching it maybe a little bit more differently to how you might be, having done it a few times before, maybe picked up the odd kind of cheat code with how to just deal with certain situations?
If only it was that easy. But pre-season it is tough, and there's no real cheat codes to it. It's just hard, honest work, and the more you do in this block of period, the better results you get at the end of it. So the work ethic and commitment from the whole squad has been incredible right across the board. But you enjoy it much more when everyone's bought into it and everyone's working as hard as each other, and you're all going towards the same goal, really.
As the weeks tick down, do you find yourself kind of counting down mentally as well yourself?
Yeah, a little bit. The games are coming around the corner pretty soon now. So this week has very much been about mentally refreshing, physically refreshing. We still do a fair bit of work this week, but when we come back in Sunday night, it'll be all geared towards games.
I've seen like a few players have gone away for a few days and things like that. What do you do kind of when you do get that little break, just to switch off?
I went up to Portrush on the Sunday, then went down to Kerry Monday, Tuesday, and played a bit of golf down there. Came back Tuesday evening. You're
on fire, I presume, in the golf course after seeing that on Sunday?
Mentally I was on fire. I'm not sure, and I was scoring as well. But it was nice to get away. Ireland, there's so many great places to go. Sometimes when you get weeks off, you're sort of tempted to go abroad and get some sun or whatever. So it was nice to actually do something in the country for once.
Looking towards the World Cup itself, we've been doing a kind of a nostalgia series over the last few weeks, looking at various different teams on the show. And last week we looked at 2003 in England, and I would have spoken to Neil back for it, and he was talking about how for a large core of that group there was almost an element of kind of now or never for them going into that tournament, that they'd been around for 2 tournaments previously, and getting over the winning line, getting to semi-finals, final, that had to be the aim for them. Is there an element of that with maybe some of you guys in the team this year, that you've been to a few already, you've just hit that quarter-final mark a couple of times, this is the time you have to do it?
I think when, for myself, when you hit 33 years of age, it's going to be my last one. So I'm not going to get another opportunity after this one. So if there ever was a time of now or never, I think this is it. And there's probably, quite a big group of us who, more than likely this will be our last one. And
I presume they're not going to need too much reminding, but are you trying to put that message into the heads, maybe the younger guys who have 2 or 3 more World Cups left in them?
Listen, I think anyone who goes to a World Cup, you treat it as your last one. I think back to the last one, I was 29, pushing on 30, and even then I was thinking, geez, I wonder will I be around in 4 years' time. So, you never know what's going to happen in 4 years' time. It's a long time, especially, in a big collision sport like rugby. So I'm sure, even the young guys in their early 20s, there'll be a small thought inside their own heads that, maybe this will be my last one, because no one ever knows. So you got to treat it like that.
And how do you approach even the warm-up games then? Because as you mentioned, never mind you don't know which World Cup is going to be your last one, sometimes you don't even know which game is going to be your last one for, certain months or things like that. You could just pick up a freak injury. How difficult is it going into those warm-up games, trying to keep that out of your head while at the same time trying to stay sharp?
I think you just got to go for it. You just got to dive in head first, and it's the games that you try to protect yourselves and hold back a little bit are the ones when you invariably, and you'll pick up something. So you just got to throw yourself head first in, try and find your form and match sharpness as quickly as you can. Because that's going to be the real key of August. We'll all get some game time, and the guys who pick up their sharpness quickest are the guys who will be winning at the end of the month.
There were obviously a few, it's an extended squad, it has to get trimmed down a lot over the last while. Have there been a few guys that might have been in theory on the fringes who have come in and looking seriously sharp?
Like I say, we've done a little bit of rugby, but not a huge amount. I think most guys really took care of themselves over the 3-4 week summer period at the end of May and into June. So everyone has come back in pretty good condition, whereas with previous World Cup camps, you'd be able to spot the fellas who did loads of training, you'd be able to spot the lads who did very little training. Whereas this time round, we've all come back in relatively good physical condition. So it makes it a little bit harder to spot the guys who were shooting the lights out in those first few weeks.
And Joe hasn't been getting emotional yet or anything? His last big camp with you guys?
Yeah, no, he hasn't. And,
I didn't expect a yes on that.
No,
answer.
and I'm sure he probably won't either. He'll be very moment focused, week focused, match focused. All those things that he teaches us to be. I'm sure he will be exactly that, the same himself.
And with Andy coming in afterwards as well, has Andy maybe been taking on a little bit more in terms of the preparation throughout the last few weeks, or is it pretty much doing as you've been doing for the last couple of years, and once the end of the World Cup, once the Six Nations rolls around next year, Andy's in front, then he's the man to lead you?
Yeah, I think all the assistant coaches are very heavily involved in all of the training we do. Obviously, Andy being head of defence, he's a very big role in terms of the team's preparation. So he hasn't done anything too different this camp to say Six Nations. He still has a fair big workload and really getting in behind it.
Did you watch any rugby championship last weekend? I imagine most Irish fans are looking on going, all things going according to plan, it's either going to be New Zealand or South Africa in a World Cup quarter final. Both of them look pretty good at the weekend. South Africa in particular, are just coming on leaps and bounds with every single game, it seems.
Yeah, they are. That they played very, very well against Australia. They scored a lot of points, and I think the most impressive thing is they've made 12 changes now this weekend, and they still look equally strong, if not a little bit stronger. So they're building really well in the background, and they're going to be, one of 7 or 8, really good teams, at the World Cup. So, a lot of Irish eyes, like you say, might be on that, but you've got so many other good teams who will all hope to be hitting their straps, in late August, September time.
Mm-hmm. I suppose, short and sweet, would it feel like a failure if Ireland didn't get past the World Cup quarter-final this year?
Listen, there's so many different variables to how that goes. Certainly it's a big goal of this team to do something that no other Irish team has ever done before. That of course will be the team's goal when the 31 lads take the plane and head off to Japan. It's probably difficult now to give a very simple answer to a question like that, but certainly for the 31 guys who board the plane, we'll be going over there looking to do something that no Irish team has done before.
And when we're talking about doing something no Irish team has done, do you think the goal is winning the World Cup? In your head, do you feel you absolutely are good enough to win it? Is it getting past the quarter-final into a semi-final stage and just breaking the glass ceiling, and from there see where it goes? I
think we've proved as a team over the last number of years that we can beat any team in our day. And that's always been the case. But, like I said, there's 7 or 8 other teams going over there who feel as if they have a very realistic chance of winning the competition too. So you can throw us all into one big basket and everyone's going to have the same answer, I think.
And finally then, back into camp this weekend, as we mentioned, you're kind of getting more into the match stuff next week. Are you kind of delighted to just be getting back playing more rugby, I suppose, in the next few weeks, rather than the fitness stuff, the gym work?
No, you're excited by it because you do a lot of gym stuff, conditioning. You want to get back out and try and showcase how far and all those gains that we've made in the last 6 weeks. So we'd be excited to get back in the field, see more ball and less conditioning cones. So I'd say that'll probably be the overriding feeling for most of the boys.
Rob, thanks for chatting to us here. Very best of luck.
Cheers.